Hello, my name is Rachel. I am 38 years old and I've been married to my husband for this will be 12 years. We have two beautiful children, a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. With each of those pregnancies, I have had a debilitating, life altering pregnancy disease. It's called Hyperemesis Gravidarum. It is called HG for short, so um, I'll just refer to it as HG just to keep things sort of simple. I've watched many HG stories on YouTube and on TikTok, and uh, a lot of what I learned was very different from my situation. So I'm hoping that this video will help someone who has hyperemesis gravidarum or someone who knows someone with this disease. This is a warning. This is a link. It's going to be a lengthy video because I want to be able to cover everything. Also, you'll have to forgive me because this is not proper etiquette. I have notes here in front of me because I don't want to forget anything. Also, I'll be pausing so that I can, gather my thoughts and share everything that I have written down. I'm hoping for two things from this video. Again, to help someone with someone who knows someone with this disease, but also to update all of my family and friends and coworkers and loved ones who have been checking on me and who have been kind of keeping up with me during this ordeal. It has been traumatic, and it would exhaust me to call and update each individual. So I'm hoping that this video can knock both of those birds out. Please also bear with me because I am sharing personal details, personal information, and it's gonna get a little sticky, but I want to help someone. Um, that is my main purpose for this video. So because of HG, with both of my previous pregnancies, my husband and I, unfortunately, had contraception in place. Um, but through much prayer and studying and research, we've come to find that that was not proper for us. And so we decided to have said contraception removed. And then we found out, that was on December 19th of 2022. We found out April 25th of 2023 that we are expecting another little baby. Now, the disease HG is characterized by extreme nausea, extreme vomiting, um, dehydration, and weight loss. And it is not morning sickness. Please, if you know someone who says that they have HG, please refrain from the term morning sickness. It's not morning sickness at all. On top of the disease, I have an additional complication. Do I want to say complication? It's a condition called tyolism. Tyolism is excessive production of saliva. That's another reason why I am pausing during this video because I will not be sharing that. um but then thirdly, with this particular pregnancy is because I'm over the age of 35, I have another hurdle. This is considered to be a geriatric pregnancy. Pause. A geriatric pregnancy. I didn't expect to hear the word geriatric associated with me until at least another 2 or 3 decades, but here we are. So needless to say, I have been extremely sick. I was extremely sick. And I'm going to try not to be emotional. This is difficult. Yeah, because I'm animated in my first and second nature. So I'm going to try to keep it together, and I'm going to try to not conceal. I'm going to try to consolidate everything and get all of my thoughts in, because I want to share everything, but I also have a problem with not. So I'm trying to edit as I go along. So please bear with me. All right. So we found out that we were pregnant April 25th. May 9th, is when I started getting sick. So I had a small window when we were hoping and praying, like, okay, well, this pregnancy, every pregnancy is different. Maybe I won't get sick this pregnancy. May 9th is when we found out that I was going to, in fact, have hyperemesis again with this pregnancy. So I, I started to decline. Forgive the dramatics, but and then I went to the hospital on May 24th. And the doctor there, he just gave me just regular saline. He gave me like a bag of saline, and he prescribed Zofran, which, if you have or know someone with hyperemesis, that is the first medication that they give you. Zofran is a medication that they give to cancer patients who are in chemotherapy. It is supposed to help with your nausea and vomiting. That's the general idea. After this hospital visit, my husband became really concerned. He called my mom. He said, "Mom, Rachel is not doing good. Um, I need you to come get her. She needs to be there with you so that you can help her, so that you can, heal her. She just needs to spend some time with you." And so I thought that I was almost out of the woods, because I was like, okay, well, this is just my first trimester. It will pass. It'll be over soon. That was my main thought. So I I canceled her coming. I was like, it'll be over. It's not that deep. Up to this point, I was not able to drink water. I was able to drink like apple juice until I had an aversion to apple juice. And then around that time, I was on TikTok, and I found that a lot of women were able to drink liquid IV. So I was able to start drinking liquid IV, which was key. I was not better though. So this time my husband called my mom, and my sister was nearby, and I'm going to call it an intervention, right? So he calls and he's like, "Listen, y'all have to come get her. You have to come get her because she's not getting better. And she's thinking that it's a hurdle that she has to get over, and she's not getting over it. She's getting worse." So we get it all set up, right? We give a date. They've got it all in motion. My sister and my mom are gonna. But my sister is the only individual that I know personally who has had hyperemesis gravidarum. She's had it with all 3 of her pregnancies. So hitherto, we were 5 for 5. I've had it with 2 of my children. She's had it with all 3 of hers. Now we're, 6 for 6, I guess you could say. With each pregnancy, we've had hyperemesis gravidarum. So my husband is thinking, I've got to get her to her mother and to her sister so that she can heal and get better, right? That's his thought. He gets it all set up. The date is here. So I waited a couple of days. I waited a couple of days after he set it up, because this time, he called everybody onto the carpet, and this is how they did it. So I'm going to give you the side note for why I kept trying not to go, because I canceled it again. Let me just say that. My mom and my sister had the date ready. They had everything ready for me to come. And so I called back about 2 or 3 days before they were supposed to come, and I was like, "Guys, I'm at the end of my first trimester. I'm doing better." I was lying. I'm doing better. And I'm going to tell you why. This is the side note. When we started out, Marlon and I had a very rocky marriage. Very tumultuous. It was not good. But we prayed, right? You hear people say when people get married, the very first piece of advice they give is to keep God in the center of your marriage. No one shares how. No one ever says how you do that. They always give that piece, but no one explains how you do that. So for us, we went through the rocks, the sticks, the mud, the mire. We went through it all. And then finally we broke down. And I'm going to tell you my part. I can't speak for my husband, but for me, the key was to submit to him fully. And that was about 3 years. It will be 3 years coming up. We know there was a series of events that led to this. But once I submitted to him, and then he was able to lead me, right? Because that's the design. We don't do it that way uh, in the Western world, but that's the design of marriage by the Creator. So once I submitted and broke myself down, and he was able to lead me, now it's difficult to be away from it. I can't. Oh, I said I would. Yeah, I am gonna be animated. I'm trying not to be emotional. It is difficult to be away from him. The thought, even now, looking back over this ordeal, is just like, that was the hard part. So what happened was, I started telling my mom and my sister, I'm gonna miss my bed, and I've got my room completely blacked out the way I want it, and it's gonna be the motion sickness of the car, and I just, I can't see myself riding for almost 3 hours to get to Jackson, and I'm, I even I said I was gonna tell. This is graphic. I did warn you. It's a lot of graphic details. I even said I don't want to come there because sometimes as I'm vomiting, I'm peeing on myself. And I don't want to, forgive me. I don't want to pee all over your house. I'm so sorry. I was just making up stuff to stay home with him because I didn't want to be away from him. What we've built is the thought of being away from him is this. It may seem like an exaggeration, but it felt at the time worse than the condition that I was dealing with. At least being with him, he's my rock. He's my king. And we built up to that. So it was the thought of just being away from him was worse than what I was suffering with. Okay, so in keeping with the timeline, I had another midwife appointment I'm sorry, this was my midwife's intake appointment. So this was my first appointment with my midwives. That was on June 9th. They again prescribed more Zofran. I don't know if I said that with the doctor when I was in the hospital. I did. He prescribed the Zofran. They prescribed more Zofran. And she mentioned putting me on a Zofran pump. We'll discuss that more in a few minutes. So that was on the 9th of June. On the 14th of June, unfortunately, was the last time I was able to eat. Right? So, I was drinking the liquid IV, but I was not able to eat. Don't do the math. Just let me get you there. My mom, so this is the third time that it's come up. My mom at this point was like, I'm coming to get you. And she called me. So Marlon and my mom figured out a way to box me out, right? What I was saying, they weren't listening to me anymore. She told Marlon, I'm coming to get her. He was like, thank you. So we got it all set up. So I had another midwife appointment on the 3rd of July. My mom came, she was like, well, I'll just pick you up, take you to the midwife appointment, because Marlon was going to like leave work early and take me, and then, we were going to get that all situated and figured out. But she was like, no, I'll just come and get you, since that's what you're hanging on for. You want to go to your appointment. I'll come get you, take you to your appointment, and then we'll hit the road. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's a good idea. Let's just do that. Because I'm not getting out of it again. I can already tell they're not going to let me out of it this time. So my mom comes. At this appointment, they are heavily discussing this Zofran pump at this point. It's a device that administers the Zofran without me having to take the pill or the undertongue dissolvable. I would have to, I guess, inject, and it wouldn't be an injection. It's a continuous administering of the medication. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong. I did a little bit of research, but I was kind of not wanting to get the pump anyway. So, okay, so I'm telling all my little stubborn. So, okay, I want to get all of these details right. So, pre-pregnancy, I was 260 degrees. I was 260 pounds. At this appointment, the one on July 3rd, I was 210. So at this point, I had already lost 50 pounds. I was so sick. I was standing up was, ooh, no emotions. Um, Difficult. I'd lost the mass in my legs, the mass in my arms, my neck. Oh, somebody's mass came back. I lost so much weight and I was in pain. Um, so okay. I began so animated. I need to get on track. Okay, so leaving the hospital. Leaving the midwife's appointment. Um, my midwife sent a prescription over to my pharmacy. Now the pharmacy is over by my house. So on the way to the pharmacy, we just stopped just to check in with Marlon. I wanted to pick up a couple extra things from the house too, because I knew that I would be gone for, a month or so. When we were leaving my house, Marlon said to my mom, Mom, I know Rachel's trying to get to Jackson to get into bed because she just wants to lay down. That's all, she's just, at this point, I've just been horizontal for so long. So long. I just wanted to lay flat. It was bad enough going to the appointment and just being in the car. I just wanted to lay down. And he was like, but you should take her to the hospital here in town. And my mom was like, okay. So we went to pick up the prescription from the pharmacy. Now, the pharmacy didn't have the prescription that I needed on hand. They were sending us to another pharmacy about 15 minutes away. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that one is over by the freeway. So we could pick up that prescription. Forgive me, please. We can pick up that prescription and just hit the road because we're right there by the freeway. We get to that other pharmacy and it still is, I'm in the car. I'm laid back, but I'm still not in bed with dark coverings everywhere. And we get the prescription. It's getting dark. We have an almost 3 hour, it's about 2.5 hour drive. I'm like, Mom, come on, let's just hit the road. Please. It's been a long day. I've been out of bed since 1. It's almost, at this point, it was like 7 o'clock. Maybe 7:30. Going on 8, because I remember, I'm like, it's dusk. We should get going. So then she's like, your hubby said, and I was like, Mommy, please, come on, let's just go. Let's just get going. So we hit the road, headed for Jackson. Now, my mom and my sister have it all set up. Oh, I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. They had my sister's daughter, my niece, let me use her room. Everybody was so accommodating. My sister she works hard, full time. She's got another, a business that she runs. She's got so much going on, but it didn't matter. They put all of that, like they considered myself and my children. She had us come to her house because she was like, well, we have children the same age. They'll have somebody to be with, we'll all be together. We'll all figure it out. We all can help you from our place. So my mom and dad were at my sister's place helping me and my children. So it was just all hands on deck. The kids learned to be, quiet, and they were very considerate, and everyone knew that Auntie Ray is, sick and she's got a baby on the way. So it's excitement, but it's consideration, and you can't pay for that. As everyone is rallying around, I, for the first time, see my husband's vision. Right? Because that's what this whole thing at this point was. It was his vision for me to come to where my mom is to heal me, to where my sister is, who understands this disease, and for everybody to rally around. My dad, my parents, my siblings, my brother, everybody. It's just okay. No emotions. Hold on. This is where things get a little dark, though. We got to Jackson on July 3rd. I was in the bed July 4th. I was in the bed July 5th. July 5th was when I texted my husband. He was at work. And I said, Marlon, this baby was conceived with righteous motives. We had clarity of thought and the will of the Father to conceive this baby, and He blessed my womb to conceive the baby. But uh, I said, because I am steadily declining, I am considering termination. I don't say that lightly. I am at this point not eating. I hadn't eaten again since June 14th was the last time I ate. And I'm only able to drink liquid IV with electrolytes. I'm not doing better. Not that I thought that I would be better in 3 days time, but all things considered, I was not getting better. He called me immediately. No, nope, you're not terminating. And I said, okay. Well, there are many women who, in bringing children forth into the world, who don't make it. And I'm not making it. I'm not better. I am dying. And I don't say that lightly. That's not just something you just throw out there. I'm dying. I literally felt things shutting down. My body was telling me I am dying. I was near death. Again, he boxed me out. He called my mom. I can't remember if he hung up on me or if he just said, okay, I'll just talk to you later. But he boxed me out. So he called my mom. That was on July 5th. July 6th, I don't remember much. I was asleep. And then I remember my mom coming into the house. Now we were at my sister's house. So my parents were coming to my sister's house to help with all of the grandchildren and with me. This particular day, my mom came rushing into the house and she didn't have any of the children. And I was like, she woke me up. Come on, get up. We're getting ready to go. And I'm like, where are the kids? She's like, they're at my house with Paul. You get up. Get up. Marlon called me. I'm taking you to the hospital. And so, hitherto, I was, trying to trying to do my little thing. He called an audible. He was like, don't listen to her. My husband is very respectful, but he told my mom, he said, Annie, before you all left, I gave instruction for you to take her to the hospital. You can't listen to Rachel. She's not rational. She's trying to wiggle out of things and she's trying to, work her will. You can't listen to her. Listen to me. Take her to the hospital. This was July 6th. We get to the hospital. They're like, it's a 2-hour wait. And I'm like, so my mom, she says, okay, I'm sitting in the wheelchair and they're like, it's a 2-hour wait. She says, Reggie, you want a blanket or something? I say, yes, please, Mom. Can you give me a blanket? She goes to get me a blanket. Post-COVID, I wrapped that blanket around my head. And you know how they have, like in the waiting room, they'll have like single seat or like a double seat, or sometimes they'll have like the longer, like almost like couch. I wrapped that blanket around my head and laid my head down in the hospital because I couldn't be vertical. I had been horizontal for so long. I just couldn't be vertical. We get me back to the back. The doctors and the nurses come in, and if you've ever had to talk to a doctor or nurse who had news, but they could not convey their message to you, that's what this was like. They were like, it's bad. It's real bad. And I was like, so I knew it was bad. So they came in, they've got the IVs going, they're taking blood for lab work, and they start doing it was a lot. So I knew it was bad. They were like, essentially, you're not going home. Not today. Not soon. You're not going home. It's bad. We're glad you came in, but it's really bad. We learned that, well, but wait, before I get there, before I tell you what it was, um, they started doing the ultrasounds and things also. It wasn't just ultrasound for baby. They were doing ultrasounds of my gallbladder, just a lot. Um, and they were so concerned because I wasn't eating. The doctor came in, she said, well, if you're not eating, you're not producing, you're not having bowel movements. We were not created not to have bowel movements. You are supposed to have bowel movements once or twice every single day. And you haven't eaten or had a bowel movement since the middle of June. It's almost the middle of July. So they were in emergency mode. I'm in the emergency room, but still they were like, okay, no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. This was when the first miracle happened for me. Now, we get back into the emergency room. It's about 5:30 when we get there and everything. They get everything started. Around 7:30 or so, my mom, no, it was later than that. It was around 9. Now, my mom ran out and she came back. Then around 9 or so, they still haven't told me what my move is going to be, but they at this point have when I got there, they started me on a saline bag, right, on regular IV fluids. What they found was that my potassium was so low. It was so low that the reason I was feeling like I was dying was because things were starting to shut down. It was very bad. My mom is hanging around because she wants to hear what the doctors and the nurses are going to say. I tell her, I said, Mom, when we left to come to the hospital, I only had the liquid IV. Oh, my water bottle's too far to show you. I only had the liquid IV that was in my water bottle. I didn't pack anymore because I didn't realize that we would be here this long. Here I am thinking I'm just going to get an IV bag because it's delusional. But I'm going to be here longer. I expected my mom to say, okay, I'll go get you a liquid IV. I'll go get the box that we just purchased. I'll go get that, and then you'll have your liquid IV. That was what I thought she was gonna say. She said, oh. And I was like, now, she been doing so much ripping and running, and so much just for me, all like just period. That I was just like, I was thinking like, what you mean? Oh, like, can you go get me some liquid IV? So then I'm asking the nurses in her hearing, I'm like, do you have any Gatorade? Do you have anything that I can't have water. Is there anything I can have? They were like, well, we don't have Gatorade here. So I'm looking at my mom like, Mommy, please, you go get my liquid IV. She didn't budge. And that's not like her. So that's the reason I consider it to be a miracle, because I know when it's my father. She didn't move. And so it's 9. It gets to be 10 o'clock. It gets to be 11. She's like, oh, I'm getting tired. I think I'm going to go home. And I'm like, is you going to bring my liquid IV back up here? As she was leaving, I kept hoping, because I'm not going to ask her. I'm not going to ask her. She's already done enough. She's like, okay, well, just let me know when you know something. And I'm thinking, like, the nurses come in. And they've got the IVs going. I'm sorry, they have the potassium. Okay, I think I told you it was my potassium. That night, I had 6 bags of potassium. It was so low. It was so awfully bad. And potassium burns going in. Ooh, we're not talking about all that. So after she left, I'm like, okay, I'm on my own. This is the journey. The journey is starting for real now. So they come in there like, is there anything we could bring to you? Reluctantly, I said, can I just have a cup of ice water? Knowing good and full well, I can't have water. I have not been able to have water with 2 previous pregnancies. And even in this pregnancy, up until this point, I can't have water. But I don't have liquid IV. The nurse is like, yeah. She brings the water. I drink it, I throw it up. And I'm like, this is going to be a long night. I wait about an hour. So about midnight at this point. And they're still running tests. It's still a lot going on. I have another, few sips of water. It comes back up. I'm throwing it up and I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't know what made me do it. But maybe 30 minutes later, I drank some more water. And it stayed down. It stayed down. And that taste that it normally brought to me, it did not have. And I was like, so I'm rejoicing, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could drink water in pregnancy. Like, ooh, I'm regular. I'm able to start drinking water. I'm a regular person, human being. I'm drinking my water. Later, no, that next morning, early. It was about 7 because they just had a shift change, a nurse change. So they moved me up to the intensive care unit. So I'm now in ICU. They're not giving me saline. So I finished all 6 bags of the potassium, but they're no longer giving me saline. They have what I think I heard them call the super bag, which has like electrolytes. And it was like nutrient rich. I could feel the difference. It wasn't just a bag of saline, and it definitely was no longer potassium. Glory. And I could feel like strength coming back to me. About that was at 7 that morning. Around maybe 1 or 2, it's lunchtime, and I can feel my appetite returning. My nurse ordered me some, what was it? She ordered chicken broth. I was able to drink my chicken broth, and I felt okay. And so then I'm able to, so at this point, forgive the graphics, my urine is changing now. It's now, I'm able to, it's no longer like a lot of ketones. It's not as yellow in color. It's now returning to, regular urine. And I'm like super excited. Then my appetite really changes. Now they have me on a liquid diet at this point because you can't go from not eating to eating. But I told her, I was like, but I'm hungry though. Like I want to eat. She said, do you have an appetite? And I was like, yes. Well, the doctor had already been in that point. I'm trying to skip through some of this. The doctor had been in and she lifted my liquid, my, like the restrictions. She put me on a solid food diet. Baby, let me tell you. I'm not going to tell you what I ordered. The only person who knows what I ordered is my sister and the 2 nurses who were in there. My sister came, well, I skipped that part. My sister came by after she left work that day, and I was able to eat food, and it was miracle number 2 because I was able to eat food, and I didn't throw it up. And I was like, she experienced that with me. My mom had been there earlier that morning. And my mom didn't bring my liquid IV when she came. So I know my Heavenly Father did that. I know he did because my mom would have remembered to bring it with her. He didn't want me on the liquid IV anymore. That portion of the test or the bridge that it was for me was over at that point. I was drinking water and I didn't have the desire for anything else. Not juice, not soda, not liquid IV. I was able to drink water. This is where the next turn was. So in that time, I had to face many of life factors for me. It wasn't just the geriatric pregnancy. For me, the biggest face that I had to come to, the biggest face to face to me was my unhealthy relationship with food. I briefly discussed how, I was able to, with the help of the Father, clean up our marriage. And even spiritually, I learned, my relationship with the Heavenly Father had grown so much. Spiritually, I had grown and learned so much and committed to growing spiritually. But I didn't realize, no, you know what? Let me just go ahead and be honest. I didn't believe that I needed to grow physically as well. I didn't believe that my diet needed to change. My attitude toward food, my attitude toward life, my the physical changes I didn't believe I needed to make. Let me tell you how humbling it is to lay in your hospital bed reading the My Chart app, learning about you as a person. A person. Just me, Rachel. I'm learning about myself reading the My Chart app. Just going through and reading the conditions that I have and how they alter my life and how my negligence put me in the hospital at death's door. I cannot tell you how humbling that is. I cannot. I had this disease 11 years ago. The things that I was learning, I should have known. But I'm going to tell you what a night nurse said to me. And it shook my whole life. She said, it doesn't apply to you until it pertains to you. And I was like, lady, first of all, I'm not going to snap my fingers at you, but what? What did you say? And she was like, it doesn't apply to you until it pertains to you. It's not about what you know or should have known or always knew, or it's not about what you knew. It's about when things pertain to you, how you apply them, how you apply the things that you know. Okay, so now I'm going to try to wrap this up. So the running joke was that I wouldn't press my emergency call button for any of the nurses at any time. So even when they came to, like when they were going to come to check vitals or administer medicine or something like that. And that's when I would ask her what I needed, ice and ice water. They moved me from the intensive care unit to the recovery unit. And that was another phase of learning that I had to do there in the hospital. Again, they also learned that she's not going to press the emergency button. Like that was like when they did their shift changes, that was like the joke. Like, okay, she's not going to call you. So this is where things changed 17th time. My husband called on Monday the 10th. This is July 10th. And I'd gotten my energy back. I was able to eat and set up for a little while. So we were, oh my gosh, we were laughing and joking. And we had such an intense encounter over the phone that, like, I hadn't been able to laugh like that in months. And I laughed so hard. He had me, listen to me, he had me going so hard that, because I don't know if I even mentioned this, I was hooked up to, of course, heart monitors, and that's the nature of this hospital visit. My heart monitor started going off, blaring. Row, row. So guess what? I had to push the emergency call button for the first time. When I say the whole cavalry came through, the whole cavalry came rushing in like, oh my gosh, she pressed the emergency button. My heart monitors were going AWF off. It's because of, not because I was dying. Well, before I was dying, they're going off because of the laughter, the love that my husband and I are sharing